Doctor Who Story by Story. The Ambassadors of Death, Review. Just the Facts. The Ambassadors of Death is the name of a 7-part Doctor Who story broadcast from the 21st of March to the 2nd of May 1970 as the third story of the 7th season of Doctor Who. It starred Jon Pertwee in his first season as the Third Doctor, in a new format in which the Doctor was exiled to Earth and working as scientific advisor to the paramilitary organization unit under the aegis of Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, played by Nicholas Courtney, who had appeared in 2 previous serials with the Second Doctor but who was now a series regular. The Doctor was also assisted by a human scientist, Liz Shaw, played by Caroline John. The serial was credited as being written by David Whittaker, the series' original script editor and writer of The Edge of Destruction, The Rescue and The Crusade for William Hartnell's First Doctor in Seasons 1 and 2 and Power of the Daleks and Evil of the Daleks in Season 4 for Patrick Troughton's Second Doctor, and directed by Michael Ferguson, who had previously directed The War Machines with Hartnell in Season 3 and The Seeds of Death with the Second Doctor the previous season, and who would go on to direct The Claws of Axos in Season 8. The serial was produced by Barry Letts in his first season as producer and script edited by Terrance Dicks, who had joined the team in the previous season. Plot. The Doctor and unit become involved in a conspiracy involving aliens arriving on Earth initially disguised as astronauts from a stricken space shuttle. When the fake astronauts are abducted and used to commit acts of theft and murder, the Doctor and the Brigadier begin to realize that the conspiracy reaches high into the British military. Guest cast. The guest cast for this story includes John Levin as Sergeant Benton, who had previously appeared in the same role in the previous season's The Invasion, and who would appear again in the next story, Inferno, before becoming a regular in Season 8. John Abineri plays General Carrington, Abineri later appearing in the Tom Baker Season 16 story The Power of Kroll and having an extensive career in television including Last of the Mohicans, for which he received an Emmy nomination, Survivors and Asrima's father in an episode of cult sci-fi comedy series Red Dwarf, though perhaps his most famous role was as the human embodiment of the mystical figure Herne the Hunter in all 3 seasons of the 1980s cult fantasy adventure series Robin of Sherwood. Playing Space Center head Ralph Cornish is Ronald Allen, who previously played one of the title villains in the previous season's The Dominators, and who appeared in a number of films and television series such as A Night to Remember, The Fiend, Eat the Rich, and Compact, though his most famous role was probably David Hunter in 60s to 80s British soap opera Crossroads. Playing Collinson is Robert Robertson, whose most famous role is his long-running turn as the warm-hearted coroner Dr. Stephen Andrews in Scottish crime classic Taggart. Veteran Doctor Who actor Michael Wisher, most famous as the original Davros in Genesis of the Daleks, plays TV reporter John Wakefield, and as Lennox is another veteran Who actor, Cyril Shapps, who appeared in the Second Doctor story The Tomb of the Cybermen in 1967 and the 1978 Tom Baker story The Androids of Tara, and who also appeared in films such as The Madness of King George and the Roger Moore James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me. Playing the mercenary Regan is actor William Desart, most famous as Alec Campbell in Survivors and who also appeared in programs such as Z-Cars and Randall and Hopkirk Deceased. Trivia. The Ambassadors of Death marks the first time the TARDIS console was seen in color and the first use of the show's infamous cliffhanger sting in the music at the end of the episode. Working titles for this story include The Carriers of Death and Invaders from Mars. The serial has an unusual title sequence which sees the cliffhanger reprise interrupting the title sequence, which then concludes after the scene. Although credited to David Whittaker, the serial was actually a joint writing effort between Terrance Dicks, Malcolm Hulke and Trevor Ray, having initially begun life as unit-free story set in the future for the Second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe in Season 6. The serial was novelized in 1987 by Terrance Dicks and was actually the final target novelization of a story from the Third Doctor's era. Only episode 1 was preserved in its original color format, with the remainder of the story only existing for a long time as black and white film recordings. It was released on home video in 2002, restoring much but not all of the color to the remaining episodes, and on DVD in 2012 in full color. The story's original soundtrack was also released on CD in 2009, with linking narration by Caroline John. Reaction. The Ambassadors of Death has a somewhat mixed reaction from Doctor Who fans. Although Season 7 is widely regarded as one of the best seasons of Doctor Who ever made, Ambassadors is often seen as its weak link, with script rewrites obvious and contributing to a muddled plot, although the story certainly has more hardcore supporters who regard it as underrated. What I think. And you can count me in as one of those supporters. I first saw Ambassadors back in 2002. The last Season 7 and one of the last Pertwees I got to see, and was very impressed by it. 16 years later, and having watched it again just last month, my opinion remains the same. Ambassadors is an extremely well-made, intelligent and exciting story with some terrific performances, cliffhangers and action sequences, and, as for its place in Season 7, I put it up there with Spearhead and Inferno and above the Silurians, if I'm being perfectly honest, as I know you all love me to be. Ambassadors is a very strong entry in a very strong season, the kind of story we are unlikely to ever see again, and I give it a strong A-.